Ladies and gentlemen, you may be here with us now. Yes, people are here with us.
Oh, wow.
So, and I'm just going to cut and paste a little bit of something. Yeah, so here I am with you. La la la. Edit my post and copy that information and just so everybody can see who I'm speaking with. People are going to check back because I told them to check back. And we have the archives, we have everything up there. And ladies and gentlemen, this is my guest, Chris McNulty. Somehow we just didn't hook up at the right time. And, I mean, after all, she is in Australia and I'm in Los Angeles. So, I think we deserve a break.
It's a little bit weird, but I think it was, I have no idea. The link just wasn't actually working. And then it was coming up with error messages like you were already on a meeting or that you were still. So anyway,
and that could have very well been that I sent you a wrong link somehow. But we are here, and I think you might need a little more volume.
Okay. Can I plug in a speaker? Would that actually make it better? It might make it worse or better.
With a microphone, you mean?
No, just that you might hear. Let's see whether this works better. Can you hear me better now? No.
No.
Can you hear me better now?
No.
Okay.
That's better when you're facing and a little closer to the computer,
Okay.
Probably.
Well, so which direction should I be facing in? This way?
Yes.
Okay, I'm looking at. I've got a bigger screen.
Oh.
So I'm trying to figure out where the camera is. I think the camera's there. So maybe I shouldn't have done that. Let's switch. Let me switch.
Okay.
It's better if I look this way, right?
Yes, it is.
All right. Okay. Bear with me 1 second, and I will.
No problem.
If I can. Oh, yeah, I can. Okay, let me just push it over onto my Mac. Oh, hopefully I can push it over onto my Mac. Sorry, people. This is a bit weird, isn't it?
Hey, it's technology, and everybody deals with technology,
I just thought it might have been nicer to have a larger screen, but it's all good. I've just switched it around, so this should be better. How's that?
Yes, this is good.
All righty. Now we're cooking.
My guest, Chris McNulty from Australia.
Hello. Oh my God. What a beautiful feeling to be connected to my American life. I've so missed it. No, I had absolutely no intention of being gone this long. And I thought, well, I'll probably last a number of years. I did tour back to the West Coast in 2017 and was up in Seattle, Jazz Vox with Nick.
Oh, yeah.
Across over the top of the planet to Helsinki and Budapest and down to the Aeolian Islands north of Sicily.
Wow.
And I definitely thought that I'd get 3-4 months in the States starting around 2019. But what happened was I got this Bundanong Trust Composer in Residency Award and ended up in Perth composing for the year and didn't get to fly over because it was just an intense time of composing and all that stuff. And then voila, we know what happened.
Yes, we do.
The end of the life we knew. We lived through that one.
Yeah, I haven't talked to Michelle Nicole for a long time, and she was over here, and probably maybe the year before 2020 probably. And anyway, but I haven't talked to her really a lot at all through the pandemic. So it was it was nice to hook up with her. But
well, I don't hear from anybody, even down here. I haven't heard from anybody from Melbourne, just nobody. It's a very weird. I never heard from anybody when I was in Melbourne. I tried to bring the singers together, tried to get them over for a meal, for a sing-song, VCM book launch. It was impossible. Nothing like New York. You know, I don't know what to say. I'm just missing my American life and my American jazz friends.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I can understand that. I can.
I don't. I mean, I understand my missing of the United States, but I'm not missing. I'm not missing exactly what you're not missing, which is, you know, a shocking situation with COVID, and I don't know how you guys are doing with all of that.
Well, Los Angeles is kind of doing okay right now. A lot of places are open, and there's been a lot of music. I mean, considering what we've just been through. And I've been singing a few times a month out, and I have a really nice place that's outdoors, and it's a restaurant, beautiful outdoor patio, great food, very comfortable, you know, really a nice situation, easy to get to, parking's easy, you know, all that kind of stuff. So,
So it's safe enough.
and it's a jam session, and people are jamming.
Well, that's good. Well, you know, Perth hasn't had COVID, probably one of the only places on the planet. So Western
Wow.
Australia is pretty well isolated from the rest of Australia. It's a huge state. It's kind of the whole half of the country.
Oh, really? Is that where you are? Are you in Perth?
I'm in Perth, Western Australia.
I
I've
see.
been here since I got the composer in residency,
Oh.
and then decided to stay on to morph the composer project into a recording project, and then COVID hit, so I kind of got stuck here, but not a bad place to get stuck in, because we've had a couple of like minor outbreaks of one case, and then our premier is shut down hard and fast quickly, and we love him, and we are for 18 months I've been performing out to sold out audiences, packed to the rafters. Nowhere else in Australia has that been the case.
So that's been going on like in the last year?
18 months.
Oh, wow. Well, that's pretty amazing.
We had one lockdown like everybody locked down in Australia in March.
Yeah.
2020. We were back performing to full houses, just about, maybe 75% we were allowed in from July 2020, and nothing's changed.
Wow.
Except for, I mean, we've had a couple of 1 week lockdowns, but no spread in the community. So that's just been the case, but it's not been the case anywhere else in Australia. Although Australia has been in better shape than other countries, it's now in a really bad way.
Yeah.
So we had a premier in New South Wales who didn't shut down quickly, and it spread all through Sydney, and and some Sydney people, somebody went to Melbourne, and anyway, it's been a disaster. And we had this beautiful golden opportunity. We were ahead of the game, and we were managing things, and now it's pretty bad. But we're just on a race against the clock to get everybody vaccinated. So we're getting there. We'll probably get there by November. That was the other thing. The federal government just dropped the ball on the vaccination rollout, and we could have been all vaccinated before this outbreak, and then probably there would have been a way to control it, put a lid on it. But no, sorry situation.
Well, I think America is pretty much understanding that. I mean, definitely everybody's kind of leaning towards vaccination. Well, not everybody. Actually, there's a large number of people who aren't vaccinated. But talking about the sane people and the not so sane people. So, talking about the sane people who aren't vaccinated, they're being careful. You know, then there's the other people who aren't careful and who spread it around. But I think probably everybody realizes that the vaccination it doesn't stop you from spreading it or getting it. It actually just makes it less bad. So there's a lot of questioning and information and misinformation. There's a shitload of stuff like that going around right now.
The same in Australia. It's exactly a mirror image of the same thing. So I just walk around thinking, I don't think Neanderthal genes should be blamed for this. There's something else going on, but I don't know what. Would it be a good idea to test people what genes what some kind of evolutionary gene is involved in this narcissism? But it's incredibly. It's just mind-boggling. I'm incredulous about this. Is just impossible to imagine. But it's there's a group of people who are absolutely anti-vax, even anti that COVID exists. They read every bit of information that reinforces their reality, and nothing of authentic, well-sourced material. I don't know how we are going to fix this in the States or in Australia, but it's pretty clear right down the middle. The people that are dying, that are people that are hospitalized, are all just about 100% unvaccinated. So you'd think you'd get it.
Yeah.
You think that would be the most obvious line in the sand. There it is, folks. There's the fact. There's the fiction. And it ain't going there. Why?
I don't know. But I mean, I kind of am a person who looks at both sides, because I just can't stand the thought of looking only at one side. To me, it doesn't make sense. But so I've seen that there's a lot of deaths after the vaccination, and I mean, thousands and thousands. So
after the vaccination, sorry, I just got lost.
Oh, that people are dying after they get vaccinated.
Not that many, though, compared to the people.
Thousands, like tens of thousands.
What do you mean? You mean people are still getting COVID infections that are breakthrough? You're talking about breakthrough infections?
Well, what I've been reading is not about breakthrough. It's actually about reactions to the vaccines. So, they do get vaccinated, then they get very sick with weird things. And this is people from nurses to, younger people who were very healthy, like right before they got the vaccine. And then like the day after they got the vaccine, they're sick and shaking, they're having seizures and dying. So it is hard to tell.
Where is that information? Is that coming from the health departments, or is it coming? Where is
the CDC actually does report on that, and for some reason, the main media doesn't take that information from the CDC. They only take the other information from the CDC. So I can see why people are confused and stuff. It's really, there's a lot of strange information, Okay,
the CDC is actually mentioning the numbers of because we get our equivalent of the CDC hasn't held back on any of the stats for the blood clotting issues that AstraZeneca.
Oh, really?
So everything's been very upfront and on board there. Everything that's happened negatively with a COVID vaccination is complete transparency. there's no such thing as massive numbers of thousands of people dying from the vaccine. No, how could that be? We're doing the same thing. We're using the same vaccinations, Pfizer or AstraZeneca.
Yeah.
There's been evidence of AstraZeneca because of the blood clotting, but they've reported every one. And the ruling was everybody over 60 should have AstraZeneca, and everybody under 60 should have Pfizer. We've had a major shortage of Pfizer until fairly recently. I only wanted the Pfizer shot, so I hung out for that. But the transparency of any ill effects from the vaccines is very, very
present.
Very present.
Yeah.
I would think the Americans would be on the same path.
You would think so.
But are you saying not?
I don't believe so, because of what the things that I've been looking at are not the same things in the mainstream media.
But
So
the CDC has been reporting accurately of the side effects.
yes, but also I mean, from what I've read and watched, the the reports into the system, which is VAERS, that's supposedly the system that takes the reports and then and translates it for the CDC. And well, oh gosh, I mean, we could talk about this a lot, and I don't really want to totally, dictate our hang for this, but there's a lot of information that I've been seeing that is on the opposite side. And like I said, I look at both, and I know people are like yell at me for thinking on this left side, I can't help it, because a lot of these people on this side are people that I would follow normally in my health manners, which is more natural type of health stuff. So I can't help but look at these people and respect them. But I have a lot of friends who are just totally here, and that's it. And when they hear me talk about the other stuff, they literally yell at me. So I don't really post stuff anymore, and I don't bring up stuff, even though I think it's good to talk about both sides and, prove it right, prove it wrong, whatever you want to do. But, it's important to communicate about this stuff, I think.
Well, yeah, I think so. But at the same time, I mean, I don't really have any time for messing around here. I just think that it's our hospitals are going to be pretty well overwhelmed on the East Coast. We're not talking about Western Australia, Perth, because we are the luckiest sons of guns on the planet. But I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop, which is we had two guys sneak in to watch your version of the Super Bowl that was held in Perth, because it's the only safe place that people can attend. So the AFL, which is like your NFL or whatever it is, made 40 million on last Saturday, but they've probably lost 120 million or whatever. They made a lot of money back on the grand final day held in Perth. Two cats came from Melbourne. They flew up to the Northern Territory, which is a kind of a state, but not a state like your Washington, DC or something, but a great big one. And lied, a restaurateur and a cafe, and a financial advisor, and they actually faked their driver's licenses, and who hooked them up with the tickets for getting in is a whole other thing that's not been disclosed. But the idiots were in the
crowd.
No, they were in the
airplane.
The football team room.
Yeah. Oh,
their faces were on camera. After the Melbourne Demons won the grand final, with a player with his medallion, and they're there, and obviously not everybody has 100% only friends. They have a few enemies. So somebody in Melbourne saw their faces and dobbed them in. The next minute, they've been, the cops have found them down in Margaret River, which is the area, found them, dragged them out. These are cats that are probably going to have their careers ruined. Hello. And they're in jail.
Oh my God.
They're going to get fined 50 grand each. So,
oh my God.
So what a bunch of idiots. Anyway, the thing is that they came from Melbourne and they didn't quarantine, and they were in the game room with the players, and the biggest spread that happened in Melbourne from the big spread that started in Sydney in June happened because somebody went to the footy in Melbourne, and Delta is so infectious, it spread to a whole bunch of people in the crowd, and that was it. That was
wow.
Melbourne is Victoria, the state of Victoria, Melbourne. Michelle will vouch for this because poor Michelle is stuck in Melbourne in lockdown. They've been in lockdown 2 months, hard lockdown. We're not talking about mild.
Right.
I don't know whether she was on the Melbourne International Jazz Festival, but I was flying over with my colleague and worked our asses off on a beautiful program to present. That's gone down the drain because nothing's happened in Melbourne. And then I thought, well, the Tasmanian Festival's going to go ahead because I can fly direct from Perth to Hobart. No, that's not going to go ahead either. Anyway, I'm just saying it spread of the footy, and these two cats did the same thing. If they'd been COVID positive, that's the end of Western Australia and Perth that'd be the end because that's people there.
That's criminal,
Well,
really
now they are criminals.
Man.
I know. So people aren't just careless. They're going to get the book thrown at them. And for a bloody footy game.
Yeah.
Only in Australia. Well, that's not true.
Oh, man. That's too much, man. I see that Michelle is online watching.
Hi, Michelle.
A few people, Mila Nicole and Louise Gilbert and Michael Diak. Hi, Michael. And anyway, but I was trying to remember where you and I actually hooked up and met. Do we know?
No, I don't think we ever met. I don't think we ever met in person unless we met in person. I was in New York for 30 years. I'm so probably way more American than Australian, definitely because 30 years of my life, my adult life was in the States. So, where did I meet? I don't know. You know what I think? I think maybe
Ingrid James.
Yeah, I nearly said Ingrid Jensen, who's my American trumpet player colleague. Ingrid James, I don't know. I don't know her. But how would we know?
I don't know. And I just talked to Jay Clayton tonight, and we were talking about you. Yeah. So Jay is she's turning 80.
No way.
And she's making a West Coast birthday tour in November.
Well, in November 2022. Oh no, 2021.
This November, yeah.
Well, we're not going to. We can't get out. I mean, it's a lovely thing to have no COVID and to be performing to sold out audiences and standing ovations, and it's just been extraordinary musically for me in Perth. I never played with a full ensemble in New York, hardly ever. It was just drumless trios. I played with a full ensemble here, and I don't want to leave home without them. It's so great. It's an amazing ensemble, but I've gone off the track. I'm just
we were talking about Jay.
We're stuck here. We can't get out because our borders are hard, and they're hard because it works. We don't have COVID unless we have those footy. I cannot see how I can get out of here to be there for Jay's 80th birthday, but somebody needs to beam me in because I just absolutely adore her. I remember the last time oh no, Jay came to that last gig in New York that I did. It was little tiny Pangaea or something. I think that might have been the last thing I did, the big CD release for Eternal, but I did a little gig, and I remember I used an Boris Kaslov on bass, and
Okay.
she's a great South Australian pianist who was in New York. He still is, I think, at this gig, and Jay came. But I had a bunch of students and took them to see her at Catano
Oh.
one night, and all these students had never heard of Jay Clayton, and I thought, well, now you're going to hear. Oh my God, we've never heard anything like this. I said, well, there isn't anybody like Jay. She's most unique.
She is.
Cool.
She's very unique. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Such a sweetheart too.
Yeah, amazing. I have so much respect for her. Oops, let me just decline.
She was going to try and stay awake, but I have a feeling she didn't stay awake for this.
Oh, she's in New York, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look at us. We're all on different times.
I know.
It's totally crazy life trying to keep it going when you are dealing with Australia, because it's so far away. But anyway, I was 2022. I got a plan.
All right, we'll keep positive thoughts.
Yeah. I'm gonna be over there. By hook or by crook, I'll be over there. I think by April 2022. I reckon we'll. Who knows? I keep reading stuff. Singapore has 80% fully vaccinated, and have just gone down another rabbit hole. So I'm hoping and praying that this 80-90% vaccination of the populace will somehow get rid of this thing, but it ain't going very fast, is it?
No.
Anyway, we won't talk
about so I absolutely love Eternal. I had it playing like for a week when I heard it first. It was playing in the background. I was like, oh God, it's so beautiful. That's such a great record.
Yeah, it is a great record because every note is for Sam. Every note, he was just there in spirit through everything. It was the most seamless collaboration. I mean, I had to produce it and come up with the platform, and then Steve Newcomb was always going to be writing the chamber ensemble arrangements. So it was Steve and I together. But without him, I would never have even stepped into that forum of a chamber ensemble with jazz.
Yeah.
So his offering was to help me just survive those first few months. So not the first few months, because that had already happened, but somewhere at the end of 2011, somewhere around August or September or October, Steve was in New York. I think he was getting his doctorate at Manhattan School of Music, and he sat with me and he said that he wanted to do that. So that was it. And so then what happened? We did it. And I always thought that it was going to be very difficult to do this project with just Steve remotely, because I always needed that piano player or guitarist to be that other part of the thing.
Yeah.
So it was John DiMartino. That was just a brilliant. I remember going to the first time I went to 54 Below, and he was there with Janice.
Janice.
Yeah, and I hadn't met Janice before, or even heard Janice, because I don't think I just hadn't heard Manhattan Transfer, I think, live.
Yeah.
They didn't do things in New York City, or if they did, what they didn't do clubs or anything, but so John and I had worked together on. He was on also on Dance Delicioso. Goodness me, that is extraordinary. Actually, when I think about it, because that means Mulgrew Miller was on that as well, and David Budway. Oh, I can't keep up with the albums sometimes and who's on what, but I hadn't worked with John for quite a few years, and I hadn't seen him, and it was just extraordinary because I was sitting there listening, and I thought, oh my God, I know who that third person is now, and it was John. So that was the collaboration, John DiMartino, Steve Newcomb, and myself, and that was the most impeccably seamless. We did that. I think I went into. Well, it's all on the liner notes, so we don't need to talk about it. But you know, it was Hurricane Sandy.
Yeah.
No electricity, no running water. For how long? It was Melbourne, New York, Melbourne. Where do I live? What country? Oh God! Sometimes I talk about a bridge and go, you know, across the Manhattan. No, it's not Manhattan. It's the Westgate.
Well, what is your, let's see, I'm looking, yeah, I'm just going to look at this for a minute, share my screen. And, so, which one is your favorite song? Do you have a favorite song?
No, if anybody asks me ever what my favorite song is in the world, I just laugh, because how could you possibly?
Well, that, of course, but do you have a favorite song on this recording?
No, but I have to pick things. You know how you have to professionally, you have to kind of know what things to run, what things to links to give people. So, you know, I tell you what, the tunes that I do, that I don't do many tunes off this album because of, you know, the
arrangements.
Yeah, so I think before I left New York, I got a few streamlined down to a kind of a quartet arrangements of a couple. So I think I had Saga, Flowers of Love Something, because that's just such a great thing, great groove, great motif, and figure that John came up with. Yesterday I Heard the Rain. Love Came on Stealthy Fingers and On a Clear Day. So I have those as small ensemble charts that I could do without any fanfare. But do I? Not really. So we two questions. One is what do I perform off here that I'd love to do, and what tracks do I love? You know, there are. You know, it just depends on what I'm looking for, you know, to hear, because, you know, I got to tell you, I don't listen to myself. So I don't listen to any of my albums. I'm like the antithesis of
an ego-driven diva.
I do not listen to myself ever. I can't. Don't even. Well, this I would. This I do think. There's not many cringe moments. I don't go, why did I do that? Or
that's good.
No, not on that one, because I actually did want it to have the most longevity, and I just wanted to be meticulous. So, I mean, I didn't pitch fix anything. I didn't do any of those things, but I did have a chance to listen to what happened. I got to answer the question about what the favorite song is. So I really do love Stardust and What Are You Doing the Rest of Your Life for the emotive thing. But yesterday I heard the rain. I don't know.
All right. What now can we listen to this one? Is this okay to listen to?
What is it?
I mean, this off of Eternal, can we,
Yeah.
it's okay to listen because I don't want Facebook to take us down or YouTube or whatever. But yeah, any suggestion what I can listen to? Stardust. I mean, they're all beautiful. I actually played before when we weren't hooked up yet. I played A Flower Is a Lovesome Thing.
Wow. Okay.
And I'll play Stardust.
And now the purple dusk of twilight time steals across the meadows of my heart. High up in the sky, the little stars climb, always reminding me that we're apart. You wander down the lane and far away, leaving me a song that will not die. Love is now the stardust of yesterday, the music of the years, the music of the years gone by, the music of the years gone by, the music of gone by. Love is now the music of all the years gone by, the music of the years gone by.
Wow, just gorgeous. I things come to my mind when I'm listening to that. First of all, the Steve's arrangements are gorgeous. Wow. There's a friend of mine named Bevan Manson who arranges similarly, and he actually did a jazz chamber record for me, or 5 cuts off of it. And it's gorgeous. There's a certain universe that perspective comes out of that's just really beautiful. And also I find myself wondering if you sang to the recorded orchestra, or did you sing with, I don't know. I don't even know if there was piano on that. I didn't pay attention, but how did you go about recording?
We went, this whole thing, this is what I'm saying about New York and just the impeccable musicianship of those players. We had 1 3-hour rehearsal with the whole chamber ensemble and jazz quartet. Steve took the chamber ensemble for 2 passes. He did the strings to run through the charts. You got to do that to make sure that all of the stop mark, everything's done.
Yeah.
And the woodwinds, and just ran them together. That was done separately a week before the recording. And that week before the recording, I flew to LA to do the CD release for The Song That Sings You Here, which was the album before. So we had one rehearsal a week before the recording. I don't know what Steve did something small with his chamber ensemble to check the charts, but we had one, all of us together. I flew to LA and did CD release event for the other album, flew back to New York the night before, and we all turned up at the studio in Hoboken the next morning, and we recorded everybody down together in 2 days.
So you did it while those were basically rough tracks? Is that what you're saying as far as the singing goes?
No, we did the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, but you sang together with the orchestra live in the recording, basically.
The only thing that happened that's different with all the other, usually about 80 to 90% of my vocals are what's from the record date. I don't redo vocals. But with Eternal, yep, we recorded everything down together, and then I took the files after everything was. We did a mix off the desk that was going to be as good as it was going to be out of that studio, and then I knew I was going to be mixing and mastering it with Dave Darlington later. So there were certainly different things that had to happen after we did the 2 days in the studio, but absolutely nothing was fixed after. We didn't have a day of fixes or anything. What we did have was probably in the next six months following that, because it probably took at least 6 months to get the whole thing done. I had overdub solos of guitar on 2 tracks, and Matt Jodrell on trumpet flugelhorn played the solos on What Are You Doing the Rest of Your Life, and Love Came on Stealthy Fingers, I think he's on. So there were a couple of overdub solos, and I took the files back to the house in Pennsylvania and opened up a new Pro Tools file and dragged the whole thing in and went through meticulously each track. And because what happened was I never got to hear the chamber ensemble arrangements at all. Steve had put them on a disc, and when I got on the plane to fly to LA, I was going to listen to the chamber ensembles all the way across and back. It didn't work, so it was blank. So I actually never got to hear the chamber ensemble anything until I got in the studio to sing the stuff. It's absolutely the truth. So this was the deal: is I wanted to be able to enjoy being able to sing to those arrangements, and be able to pitch and hear the beautiful stuff. I wanted to have that joy. I deserved it. I knew I did. So going down to the studio and singing all that stuff, hearing all that stuff and all the count-ins and the cues, there was stuff that I had to conduct. Even Steve had to give me the job, because there's a lot of places where there's no time. I had to do that. I was really a nervous wreck in a way, but I've been wanting to sing the stuff beautifully, and also trying to get used to hearing all of that stuff. Well, there was no getting used to. We were in the studio.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Yeah. That's really amazing.
So I took the files back, and that was lovely for me, because I had this beautiful space upstairs in the sunroom that was open on 3 sides, and I had to be careful. It took quite a lot of concentration and work, because I had to do this at night when there was no bird noise or whatever, because it wasn't a soundproof sunroom, and it wasn't warm either. But anyway, yeah. So I pulled up every track and listened meticulously, and wherever I knew that I wanted it to be perfect, I just resung resung whatever I wanted.
Wow. Well,
But
I
there was
applaud
nothing
you. It's
else. It was
just a
just
really beautiful project. Really, really
so
exquisite.
it was lovely for me to have, and I've said this for an ever since then, is that you couldn't pay me to go into the studio and not manage my own vocals, because I'm used to having my Neumann there, my Mac there, and I feel like I want to be the one to say, yeah, that was it. That was the take.
Yeah.
Not somebody 30 feet away say that was the take, when I know after 50 years of doing this, I know when it's perfectly sung. You know, that run that I did up on Stardust, you know, I have to be in good physical shape to sing those things where there's it's hard to start in a lower range in your natural voice and climb up into your head voice. At this age, I don't have the flexibility of voice that I had at 30 or even 40, but my voice, it was a crystalline, clear, full voice. I didn't even have a head voice in my 30s. It took me a long time to learn how to sing with a head voice, but it's much harder to do those runs unless you're very warmed up and limber, as you know. So it was great. I had that chance to sit back and just go, okay, let me hear this. Okay, the whole idea and everything was great. So I would just sing it, but relaxed, without panicking about, you know, where's the time? And that's what they're playing there? Oh, God, you know. he wrote some pretty dissonant things in there sometimes. I'd be like, oh.
Very, very nice. Very wonderful.
It was a joy. It was a joy to actually go, give me those files, man. I'm taking them up and I'm going to listen to that shit. I'm going to relaxed voice. But to tell you the truth, if you listen to Clear Day and Flower as a Lovesome Thing, most of it is the original vocals.
Yeah.
Probably the solos I would have redone.
Yeah.
Yeah, the solos, because especially for me, I don't love it. I don't love it unless I really love it. At the listening back, I love it, and most of the time I go, nah, I don't love it. I don't like it enough to keep it.
You know, and I also was thinking, and the first time I heard it, I also thought there was, I'm sure you've heard this before, there was a little bit of, for me, Barbara Streisand sound in there. But not her, but I mean, it reminded me your voice, and then your style. I don't know exactly what words to use, but your stylizing is almost like, it feels like it comes out of either some kind of an ethnic or like a folky kind of thing. You have a little bit of that in there.
Wow.
It's really quite beautiful.
I didn't know that.
No?
No, I never thought. No.
Did anyone ever say Barbra Streisand?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I get the babs quite a bit. And actually, I never ever not see that as a compliment, because I just tried to sing A Child Is Born, not the Thad Jones one, the one that David Grusin wrote for her. And holy crap, so hard to sing. I don't know, moves through so many keys, and her pitch is absolutely meticulous. It's when she was singing a lot more than acting, and I think I grew up with her. I sang all those floor shows singing the way we were when I was 17, 18. So I definitely listened a lot to Barbara as a young girl, young teenager.
Yeah.
But of course, I didn't know about jazz. I didn't know about jazz until I'd gone on the road and come off the road. And so my first real experience was around 22. And once that happened, I never, ever looked back. I was, very committed. Got the addiction quickly, and that was it. Never.
When you were, where did you grow up?
I was born and raised in Melbourne, but I was on the road really young as a touring singer, singing R&B and funk. And that's where I first heard, my introduction through jazz came through the fusionistic 70s thing first. So I heard the real, the really authentic pre-fusionist stuff after. So I was introduced on the road to, you know, the Herbie Hancock's Man-Child and Thrust and Bill Cobham's Crosswinds and Chick Corea, all that stuff was what I heard first. And then I got back to Melbourne, which was like a foreign place to me. I never felt like it was really my town. So I remember this. This is still vivid to this day. I remember hearing Billie Holiday for the first time, and I had the book of her life, and I was in the backyard, and you know, all we had was vinyl records. As you'll know, there's nothing else. We had nothing else. We didn't even have jazz fake books in Australia. There was nothing. It was only the vinyls and the needle, and you had to do that and move back and forth to try to get what was going on. But I just remember deciding, okay, I'm only gonna listen to Billie Holiday for 6 months. Not only 6 months, but I'm only going to listen to her for this next 6 months. I'm not going to listen to anybody else. And at that time, I was still doing floor shows after being on the road for a really long time, singing the funk and R&B and whatever. Just to make a living and survive, I was doing what they called floor shows. So I was opening up with, I can see clearly, I've got the music in me, the way we were, all that stuff. And I used to come home late at night and smoke a little bit of hash or something. Let's say that. Nobody can arrest me now. And listen to Carmen, it's bittersweet. Billy, of course, Sarah's live in Japan, and Nancy and Cannibal, and just over and over and over and over. And that's when I decided that's it. I was getting a lot of studio work, session work all of a sudden, and I thought, okay, I'm never going to sing that other stuff ever again in my entire life, and I'm only going to sing this music, and I'm only going to sing with acoustic jazz musicians, and that was it. That was it. And
now, you weren't in New York yet? Is that correct?
No, this was in Melbourne when I was 22.
Okay.
By 25, just after I turned 25, I went to Sydney, and that was really when I got my my jazz hat on. I mean, I became very much more well known in Australia as a jazz singer. So, and there was a lot of attention and a lot of focus on me from that minute on. So my stylizing was very strongly there. So I guess it was meant to be, but never the twain shall meet. What I was doing before that and what I decided to do, there was no lead up in my childhood or anything, although I did hear Frank and Tony a lot in my childhood, and Judy.
And Dora. Judy. How about Rosemary?
Didn't really get to hear Rosemary at all. No, not really. If I did, I didn't really know who that was. But I mean, Judy Garland just loved.
Yeah.
Doris Day. I mean, they were Frank. I just loved.
I grew up like that too. My dad was a musician. I had two older sisters who sang. One played piano, so we were always listening to all of those people. Yeah, it was great.
Well, it was our era,
Yeah, it was the era. Absolutely.
Not bad singers to be listening to.
No. And we listened to the high lows, and of course now I'm friends with Clark Burroughs, who was the high tenor in the high lows, and that was kind of mind-blowing for me. I wish my sisters had been able to meet him. My sisters both passed away, but yeah, they would have absolutely died you know, if they had met him. He's such a nice person, and he still has that beautiful high voice, you know.
Oh, well, I mean, I really did come up as a young teenager with all of the great R&B, Sam Cooke and Otis Redding and Stevie
Yeah.
and Don, the way the Aretha, that was
Oh yeah.
they were my people, really. So that was my life as a young teenager. That was it, you know. Oh, yeah, the Beatles, of course, and all that crazy stuff. That was
Yeah.
Beatle maniacs. But the music that spoke to me was Black American music, yeah, and it's never changed. I've never, ever, ever had any other love as much as that. So,
Did you happen to see the movie The Summer of Soul?
I just went to try to see it and ended up seeing Respect instead.
Oh, okay.
So, but they're both on. So, yeah, I was waiting for ages for it to come out.
Yeah.
It's just on. It's just on now. So it's.
You'll
it's on.
love it. You'll love it. I cried through it many times, you know. It's
Yeah.
just wow, it was so deep, so heavy, and you know, on so many different levels. Really wonderful. Yeah, you'll love it.
I actually it was on my bucket list this week to go, and I've just haven't gone. But probably tonight or tomorrow night I'll go and see it because it's. Yeah, I think it was just a timing thing. Anyway, I loved Respect too. I thought, and I cried my eyes out when Aretha came at the end. Have you seen that?
I have not seen Respect, but I've seen her Amazing Grace, the documentary on her.
Yep, saw that. But Respect, Jennifer Hudson sings
Yeah,
through the whole thing and acts and is extraordinary.
yeah.
Really extraordinary, extraordinary. But at the very end of the film, and I was thinking, oh, please let them put just Aretha's voice on for a minute. And not that Jennifer didn't do an extraordinary job. It was mind-boggling what she did. But at the very end, the Aretha's there. You remember when she got the presidential thing with Barack Michelle
Yes.
Obama? And Carole King was in the audience.
Yes, I remember that.
Oh my God. I was just sobbing. I was just absolutely a sobbing mess. It was so powerful. But anyway, back to Summer of Soul. I'm definitely can't wait to see it. Yeah. But anyway,
Yeah.
that was my teenage years. I was just posting about Jimi Hendrix and his birthday or his death day, was it? I can't remember which one was what, but I used to dress like Jimi Hendrix when I was 16. Because my hair is very dark brown, but you know, I just had to, you know, wash it and blow it a bit today. But man, if I just didn't do anything with my hair and just let it dry, it would be like a serious afro.
Really?
Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, really.
Wow. Well, maybe you are Black somewhere along your lineage.
Well, we could, I don't know, but Gary Bartz had it at me in a conversation with Tommy Flanagan. I remember this, but anyway, I won't say what he said, but I did it until later, and I thought, oh, okay.
That's funny. Yeah, well, I went to college at Berkeley for a few years, and I was playing flute, and I took arranging and comp. They didn't have vocal at the time there, and but that was the '70s, the early '70s, and that time in Boston was all of what you're talking about. It was everything. It was Motown. It was, Woodstock. It was blues, like seriously great blues. It was, and the jazz was there too. And then there was, Blood, Sweat and Tears was coming in. ECM was coming in. I mean, it was just absolutely packed with great stuff. I mean, I was really into Miles at the time. I used to put on a Miles record every single morning. and
Nice.
Weather Report. Huh?
Yeah, Weather Report. I just put a program together for the ABC, and Weather Report, all that stuff was in my selection of the most influential music of my life. You have to go back there to that age. But I'm just in awe because you were there in the real time. I was there in the real time as far as what we had was just radio. The only forum for listening to music was in the live arena or radio. That's all we had. And of course, the live arena, we didn't have what you had.
Yeah.
So I only had the radio. That's all we had. So it was like dive to the radio with your ear up, waiting for that tune to come on. But
Now, was this a group experience or was it very singular?
you mean it was like that for everybody?
No, I mean, did you gather with friends and listen and have listening parties or whatever?
No, I was a young teenager. This is before I was even allowed out. No, just at home. Just at home, in our own home, with a radio in the kitchen. Yeah, big family, but yeah, I just remember that's all we had was the radio.
Yeah.
Whereas for you, you're in Boston and you're actually have access to those great players playing the music. We just had everything. Everything was a million miles away in the States, so it was all we had was the recordings.
So interesting.
Nothing else.
Yeah.
I do remember seeing the Temptations and the Four Tops when they came out. I was just completely and utterly gobsmacked. I mean, breaking through a thing, like, film. They had a film on the screen of them in their dressing rooms, and then they're running up the stairs. It's all on the screen. The next minute they just jump through the thing.
Oh my God.
So brilliant. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, well, lucky you. Miles, I wouldn't have been listening to Miles till the 80s. Oh no, the late 70s, the very late 70s.
Yeah.
Early 80s I started. Because that's how long it took me to get into the jazz thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my dad's music was really, the first music that I was listening to. Then my sisters were 4 years older than me. So, everything they listened to, I listened to. And then at some point, well, when I was in high school, I became a hippie, and then I was singing with a guitar player, and what that led to, sex and drugs and rock and roll. And
70s, right?
yeah, but
we all did our little hippiedom. I did for 3 months of my life. I mean, I'm not sure I think it took me a long time to recover from that 3 months, but it was every time I think about that time, I just cannot believe we survived it. It was such a time of a risk-taking time too. I guess every generation has their risk-taking time, but my God, I mean, for women, we were such guinea pigs for all kinds of things. So things have really changed. The expectations on women, on young women, was so different, and I go over this a hell of a lot in my time that I spend a lot of time on my own now, but just thinking about being raised very strict Catholic and being completely naive about everything, and then out there on the road in the 70s, and it's just so mind-boggling. Like, talk about a health, being thrown in the fire.
Into the fire.
I don't know. So sometimes I just, I cannot quite imagine, after all of everything, 30 years in New York and a great international career and all of the places that I've toured to around the planet, and then I'm in Perth, Western Australia, and I'm thinking, oh my God, how did I get here?
Yeah, that must be very interesting information to contemplate. I can understand that. It's because this is a thought-provoking time anyway, and then I mean it's pretty right in front of your face.
It's it's tough. The transition back to Australia was I wrote it down. I knew where I was going to have a really challenging time, but knowing it, writing it down, rationalizing it out doesn't in any way prepare you for what it really is emotionally. So coming from New York, I mean, it's just the autonomy and the openness and the vitality and the very ever evolving dynamic of that place, and then just the swath of great challenging musicians and stuff. It was so hard to come back to Australia and try to make sense of a career life. It was challenging enough culturally, but there were things that were necessary for me to go through, and there were also, my parents were still alive and very much on the aging end of their things, so it was important to be there after losing Sam, to be there for somebody. That's a very dark comment, but it's not, it's very complicated. But so I was caught up in the caregiving and that, which was good, because I had been gone from Melbourne for 38 years and from Australia for 30, because I was in Sydney for 8 years before I left for New York, which is where I had Sam. So Sam was 7 when we left for New York. But anyway, a long time, right? I was flying back here every year to tour pretty regularly all through that 30 years, except for a couple of gaps. There was one 7-year gap where I couldn't fly back, but I was, bringing Sam back. And then once Sam got back to Australia and was living in Melbourne, I was always organising a national tour to be able to be back here and afford to come back and be with Sam, and also, not be broke, like, and validate the cost of the trip, because the trip was always extremely expensive. Yeah. So it was all of those things going on anyway. But then when I finally, made that relocation after deciding what can I do after losing him, I just thought, okay, well, I have to go back, and I spent the cultural challenges were there, but I was also immersed in, the parents and all that stuff, and trying to find a foothold somewhere to make things happen where I was at least reasonably comfortable and stimulated musically, but career-wise, it was so challenging to figure that out. It felt like I was coming back and starting from complete scratch.
Yeah, but of course you weren't. But I mean, but at the beginning, it was like, whoa, it's kind of compared to New York. I mean,
no, I was coming back and starting from scratch, though. It really was that. It wasn't anything less than that, because there was no established relationships. There was all of the business relationships, and possibly the fact that, I was known, but I didn't have the established personal relationships with those businesses. I just had it from afar. Oh, Chris McNulty. Oh, and she has a new release, and here are the reviews, and how great we want, but there wasn't any of the personal there. So you have to do that. Yeah, you don't just walk in and have it. Right. And people have ideas. They have perceptions about who you are. Yeah. And okay, so that's going down that wormhole. But the one big wormhole is that in New York, you have such autonomy. You are surrounded by so many zillions of people. It's not cliquey, and it's not parochial, and it's not coveting, and it's not insular. There you go. And what I came back to was all of those things. Sorry, I said that. I also have to tell the truth. And, so, people say whatever they want to say, and I have to say it because it's important to know that that's where all of those things converged and went, whoa, this is way harder. Yeah. And they're the reasons. It's just like, yeah. Yes, of course, there's plenty of positives. I'm not being, I'm I'm not, you know, I'm not slashing it at that and saying this was really all bad.
Yeah.
It wasn't, but it's just the challenge of transitioning from Australia to New York with a child was, you know,
That
that's
was
a
hard enough. Yeah.
whole other long conversation of like, I can't even remember that these things happened, or this was my life, because
Yeah.
I had to exit it, you know.
Yeah. You
And,
know, you just reminded me that Elizabeth Contamanu also did that.
I love Elizabeth.
She moved to New York with a child as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she had a few more when she was there.
Yeah.
Because I remember booking her, and she had the baby. She had the baby. She was breastfeeding at the gig. I totally was like, love it. We have been in touch, not so much recently, but she was the most unbelievably beautiful presence in my life after
Oh,
I lost Sam. So
that's nice.
we've stayed very. I think we Skyped.
Oh, she's really lovely and a great singer. And
What a powerful singer! Whoa,
yeah,
love her. Always have loved her.
yeah.
Mm.
I heard her just by chance. There was a record that I acquired somehow, and I was like, "Who is this? Wow, she's got such a unique sound, you know, really great sound." Yeah.
Yeah, well, she got met with all kinds of challenges too. I think, I mean, I no, she did. I don't know whether I'm became an American. I'm an American citizen.
Hmm.
But all happened pretty well on my exit.
Huh.
So I didn't reap much benefits. I got my first, you know, federal election votes in after I left for Hillary. But anyway.
Hey, let's listen to something, may we?
Oh, yeah, sorry, yapping away. So if you
No,
don't,
no, it's great. But I did pull up what you sent me, and so I put. Now I don't know why this came up. That was Emmett Cohen and Cecile. I had this with Chris Foster, which I think I actually played in the beginning. I had this Finding Home.
oh, that's my Finding Home Originals project. So it's kind of yeah. And then there's One Less Bell to Answer, which is the duet.
Okay, what do you think I should play?
Well, you could play a little bit of this Finding Home project, but I'm talking as well because it's a promo video. But it'll give you an idea of the stuff I've written.
So you are a legitimate composer as well, is that correct?
Well, I don't know what legitimate means.
Well, I mean, you're not just composing a song. You're actually, it's like it sounds like you compose some more serious type of music that gets played by ensembles and.
Well, I mean, I write all the music, so I write all the harmony. I mean, I write all the charts. I write all the music. Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
For larger groups?
Well, I'm not right. I have done things like I've written string arrangements and stuff, but
Yeah.
I'm a novice at this in that way. I wouldn't call myself. I would. Yes, I am a composer of music. I don't just write a melody line and give it to somebody to do something with. I write all the music. So whatever you hear on this video, I have written all the music, but I've got great players interpreting it. But yes, the charts in front of them are all my
compositions.
And have all been written by me. The music hated and written by me.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking that you were an arranger as well.
Well, no. I have such huge respect for. Well, this is arranged, so it's. I actually probably should preface this by saying I think I write like I hear like an arranger, but I don't have any of those skills. I don't come from great any of that education. So this is. I can write enough to arrange this music that I've written for an ensemble to play.
Right.
If I want woodwinds in there, I could write I could do it, but I don't want to do it because there are people that do it way, way much better and way quicker than me.
Yeah.
I just don't want that job. I tell you what's hard is writing all this music and then writing the lyrics to the music that you've written. That's already really hard. So unfortunately, I don't write easy music. I have no idea why. So it's challenging to play. And I hear harmony in a unorthodox way. So it's not like I don't hear a lot of 2-5-1 harmony, and it's not swinging. So there's a lot of odd meter stuff in there. I'm not trying to analyze what I write so much as just make it work. So in the end, the piece of music, if I'm a vocalist as well, I'm either singing lines that make sense to me as a singer, or I'm singing a lyric that makes sense to me as a storyteller. And I am all of those things, except no, I would give anything to go to get a degree in composing and arranging in that way. But I just don't think I'm a good enough piano player. Well, I don't think I'm not. So part of the reason that holds me back is that if I could really play well enough, I would go down that road.
Yeah, I see. Okay. Well, I'm going to play.
I'll try to explain myself, but
no, well, that's fun. Tells me what I wanted to know. So here I'm gonna play a little bit.
Everything that you hear here.
Everything you've written here.
Yep.
Run with me through the fields, chasing the butterflies to the rainbow. Catch them quick if you can before the sunlight turns into shadow. Just after moonlight, before the new day. Chasing the
This project came about due to being the recipient of a Bundanong Trust Prelude Composer in Residence program, which was announced in late 2018, co-sponsored by the National Trust, the Australia Council for the Arts, AMCOS, and the Australian Music Centre. Not often does an opportunity like this come along in any artist's career, especially not for a jazz vocalist.
Chasing the butterflies, we'll find tomorrow under a bright blue
I spent the better part of 2019 as a resident of Perth, composing at Gallup House in Dalkeith, set amongst sublime gardens with expansive panoramic views across the Swan River. I immediately made a pact that I wouldn't allow myself to be too distracted by the beauty, and committed then and there to compose an album's length of music, and that I have surely done.
For across the water I left a little daughter. Her eyes were sparkling diamonds. Now all I have an image to hold.
My composing project, Finding Home, Other Australian Stories, that was the title of the project. It kind of morphed into a recording project rather fortuitously, for want of a better word. After a year at Gallup House, I began thinking that perhaps Perth could be my forever home. After 28 years in New York City and a couple spent in Melbourne, I got to tell you, yeah, the weather was a pull, but by mid-February that idea had pretty well moved into being stuck here with the onset of a global pandemic. Not a half bad place to get stuck in, might I add. The real pull, to be serious, was just the fantastic musicians, the fantastic people, and it's just something very special about Western Australia and Perth. It's just very soft and gentle, but there's a kind of a robust, vibrant, vital, creative scene here, and I think it's the world's best kept secret. How I imagined this project and the subject matter bringing musical voice to stories of refugee and immigrants through the lens of their artists definitely found its home here in Perth. There are a number of things that struck me immediately upon my return to Australia. One was the enormous cultural shift that had taken place while I was gone, especially with developing refugee diasporas. Something I read struck a very deep chord with me. Memories emerge from familial places and are often held quietly in the heart until or unless expressed through the lens of our artists. In attempting to retell or reimagine these stories through sonic imagery, I realised I was also telling some of my own story. These voices resonate powerfully throughout finding home for people that have had to leave everything behind and start a new life, make a new home in a foreign country. It's huge. It kind of happened to me and to my son. We were immigrants in another country. I'm grateful and honoured beyond to have such an outstanding core ensemble of Chris Foster, Daniel Sussiger, Nick Abbey, the wonderful Brodie Stewart putting this video together and engineering this. The vocal ensemble is quite pared down compared to what we'll end up having on a recording, but most grateful to have my gorgeous music editor, Georgie Away, who is an accomplished singer-songwriter in her own right, and the enormously gifted Owen Measday, collaborating with me in the vocal ensemble department. Not only are they consummate musicians and masters of their instruments, they're some of the most supportive and generous human beings I've met in Australia.
Every day I have that same dream.
Looking out over the wide blue Indian Ocean, one does have to pinch oneself. After all said and done, I still have to wonder how a girl from West Heidelberg made it all the way to New York City with a small child in tow, managed to carve out a pretty successful career in the trenches and tour the world, and then end up in fabulous Perth.
Turning around, what helps I don't look around. If you look straight ahead, you won't be
The journey here after tragedy has changed the course of my life in the most positive way. As inexplicable as profound grief and loss is, I feel a certain kinship with the refugee and immigrant community. After all, as I said, I was also an immigrant for 28 years and repatriated back here, feeling again quite like an immigrant. Perth has shone its warm sun on me. I'm very grateful. I feel much sustenance from its soft, healing balm. I can't wait to record the music with these enormously talented musicians and hopefully share it across this wide and wonderful land with a diverse community of Australians, because that's what this is really about, is who are we and what are we? And I think we're really an amazing mix. We always have been. Hopefully we'll find the funds to record this beautiful thing. In order to accomplish that, I'm hoping to attract a couple of fundraising whisperers who might be interested in helping me get the second tier of this beautiful project off the ground and out into the universe.
Beautiful. Wow, that's really beautiful.
That was a little long.
Well, we can do whatever we want, but that was just really beautiful. Yeah, it was great to hear everything, hear the music and the voices and your songs, and hear you speak about it too. Very
Yeah,
deep.
well, it was a deep and intense project, and it was a lot of work, and I never got the funding that I applied for, so I kind of put it on the shelf and went, okay, well, I'm not writing any more grants, so we'll see what happens.
It always seems to me that Australia is kind of abundant with grants for people. Is that not true?
Yeah, well, probably the probably the people that have had the most successful careers have had them because their whole careers have been funded by grants, and you know, there's an upside and a downside to that. The
What's the
other side,
downside?
that only well, because then you've got government bodies make decisions about art and what's valued and what isn't, and it often comes down to who can write the best grants, or you know, it may be a name thing. I don't know. I just think that when you only have grant funding bodies behind a lot of the music that's been created, then there's an element of other things that have nothing to do with what I'm used to in New York, which is we're just, you know, nobody gets any help, but you're just creating this music, and this energy is just, and this is collaboration, and it's all of that, and that's what I've always been about, and that's where I come from. That's what I've existed in, and I haven't existed in the grant funding world, and apparently I don't belong there. If I did, this thing would be out by now. So, and it's also just like I'm not going to bust my butt, and I'm not going to write another grant. I cannot tell you how hard it was. So hard to write that music. It was really, really hard work for me to write that music and to write every bloody aspect of it. And I've still gone back to the drawing board, and there are tunes in there that have been reshaped completely by like getting rid of the odd meter bars and creating a swing 16th beat shuffle behind the thing. Like I don't want this whole album to be straight eighth kind of shit. Whereas, you know, obviously writing stuff that's swinging is much harder for me because I'm not a piano player that can, you know, swing. I'm just using the piano as an instrument as a tool to get my stuff written. That's me.
Yeah.
So, that's it. There's no other way around that.
Yeah.
I found out another way to get this music to be what I needed to be by thinking about it a bit harder. But anyway, let's see. I'm not spending a dime of my money on recording this project. I've done enough work. So let's just see whether I have the stamina and the energy to go seek out some philanthropic.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm putting out the energy for you.
Thank you so much for having me and talking to me and allowing me to speak.
It's great. I'm so glad to talk to you and find out, you know, who you are and what you're about, and your singing and your music is so wonderful.
Thank you so much. You know, Kath, I don't know what to tell you. Half the time I feel like I'm down at the very bottom of the bloody barrel, just climbing up and going, oh, geez, that sucks. Or, wow, when am I going to learn how to do that better? Or, you know, but I think that's why I'm continuing on my journey. I will say this, in all of the things that have happened to me in my life, in this life, lots of really, really, really tough things, but nothing prepared me for this loss, and nothing ever would. And I would never, ever, ever wish this to ever happen to anybody, ever. Even people that I don't even, you know, just, it's the unrecoverable from. But what I remembered, and I remembered this from when I was really young, I was writing 200-page short stories at 11, and I know I was writing to escape whatever was happening around me. Art and finding my creative voice happened really early in my childhood, and I never stopped using it as a place of refuge and safety. Never. And nobody ever told me to do that. It all happened by osmosis through some extraordinary gift of creative expression that was there that I knew about. So by 15 I was singing, and I was singing folk music. So you got your little thing on there, right? So I was singing unaccompanied a cappella, Bob Dylan, Blowing in the Wind, House of the Rising Sun.
Oh. Oh.
Without any accompaniment. So nobody ever told me I could get a guitar and learn. So I just sang a cappella. But anyway, so as soon as I started singing, I stopped writing, but I've come the full circle. I write a lot. And I started probably writing lyrics somewhere, but I never thought I was totally petrified to show any lyrics that I wrote, and even petrified to show anything I wrote as a song. But if you listen to the song that Sings You Here, there's a tune on there called Letter to Martyr, which I'd love you to play.
Okay. So that was
On the song that Sings You Here.
okay, and that would be on your site?
Also, yep.
Okay.
That's a very interesting thing to go, because that melody I wrote when I was 14 years of age.
Really?
And, yeah, and I never remembered it for at all until I got into I must have been in my late 40s or 50s when I remember. But I sang it every night silently in my head as I went off to sleep, because I knew that would be the only way that I'd remember it forever.
Oh, man.
There was not a music lesson in my whole childhood or young adulthood, nothing. So I knew nothing about music. So I wrote a lyric. I didn't use the lyric, although I took little snippets of it. And when I recorded this, there's a long story about this. It's written down. I don't know whether we have time to tell, but it's an extraordinary story, because I did remember it, but I only remembered it listening to the great Hungarian folk singer Marta Sebastian. After I'd seen The English Patient, I went out and sought her out at Tower Records in the world music section and found a whole bunch of CDs and bought them and came home and listened. And on one of them, she's singing away, and I start humming this melody line. And I walked away and thought, what's that? That's not even the melody. What is that melody line coming from?
Wow.
And that's when I remembered. I started to sing, and I thought, oh my God, that's the song that I wrote when I was 14.
That's so sweet. Wow.
But guess what? The great-grandfather who jumped ship in Melbourne to marry my great-grandmother was a Swedish sailor by the name of Peter Gillert. And I researched this and knew that Gillert wasn't Swedish, but I thought, well, he was on a Swedish ship. He jumped ship. And who was he? Anyway, Gillert is Hungarian. It has origins in Hungary. And when you go to Budapest, this is the Gillert Mountain, there's Gillert Springs. Did he make it up when he jumped ship? Just like, was he really Swedish sailor, or was he Hungarian? I don't know. But anyway, hilarious that I wrote a song when I was 14, even though I was listening to Sam Cooke, Otis Redding, Aretha, Stevie Wonder, all of that. When I wrote the melody line, I knew in my heart, in my deepest part of me, that I was going to write my first song, and that it wasn't going to have anything to do with anything but something very archaic and unpolluted, just unrelated to anything that I'd ever heard. And that's what I wrote. And it's like a Hungarian mode.
Wow. Okay, well, let's hear it. And let's see. So which song is it? Letter to Marta?
Yep. And the reason why I wrote it's to Marta Sebastian, because that's how it ended up. So I sang the thing out in that sunroom in northeast Pennsylvania. So you'll hear everything. You'll hear, there's nothing orchestrated here. The bird song and the thunder all happened, and you'll never believe where the thunder happened, but there it is. And then I took that file into the studio and got the trio to play behind it. And what we ended up with was just take the bass and drums out and leave the piano in. So Andrei Kondakov is on this, and when I put it up after the release, He said, "It's very beautiful, Chris, but it's not me." I said, "Yeah, it is you. You just didn't remember playing it because you were playing with a trio."
Oh my God. Okay, here we go.
I know why you cry, it's of me and others. And I know why you see, 'cause we're all sisters and brothers. And it rattled along my walls, down my hair, in my brain. 5 o'clock in the morning, all alone in the rain in December. And it will always make me remember. In the morning, all alone in a rain in December, and it will always make me remember.
Wow. Beautiful. Sure is beautiful.
I still listen to that and I think, wow, I wrote it when I was a kid.
Yeah. Yeah, like where did that come from?
Well, I mean, it took a long time for me to make any connection to the great grandfather and Gillette, but it still is a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing because what happened later was this beautiful cat, well, he's not Hungarian, I think he's from Bulgarian, I don't know, but he's based in Budapest, and his name is Satiris. I'll think of his last name. Very close friends with Marta Sebastian. So, I hummed it. I hummed most of it. That's the letter to Marta, because I tried to find Marta Sebastian after that, after I heard that and this happened, and I couldn't. And apparently she had a very challenging time and was a single parent with raising 2 children. I don't know exactly what happened to her, but she's an extraordinary singer and very knowledgeable, deeply knowledgeable about Hungarian folk music. Her parents were very close friends with Bela Bartok, who drew from the whole Hungarian folk thing. But I couldn't find her. I got one contact and then I got something back that didn't make any sense. So I just forgot, didn't pursue it anymore. And Satiris found Letter to Marta on the internet and contacted me.
Oh, God, really?
Yeah. Years after that record was released. But I ended up in Budapest in a documentary with Marta and I after that.
Wow.
Because he heard it. He went to Marta and said, listen to this. This is this jazz singer Chris McNulty did this tune.
Wow.
So that was why in 2017 when I went up to Seattle to perform at Nick's Jazz Box series, I went to Budapest to do that documentary.
Wow.
That's the story. That's the journey of that little tiny piece of music.
That's amazing. Yeah.
The B minor.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah, that's totally amazing. Talk about, you mentioned that music was a refuge for you all through your life. And I mean, that goes along with my feeling that music is actually my religion, because I practice it and the practice of it brings me closer to God. And I've always felt like that. I mean, always. But it's
well, I've heard yous, and you're just such a beauty and beautiful intonation and tone in your singing. And my first thought is, man, she must sing a lot, because it's to me, the instrument of voice is the most fragile and vulnerable of all instruments in jazz.
Sure is.
Unless you work it. I wrote that book, VCM, the methodology, all to help and make sure singers stay in shape, because we don't work anywhere near as much as instrumentalists. We don't get to work our instrument every day. I don't. I certainly only do a gig once every 2 months and that's a gift. To once every 2 months. That's not enough. So,
Yeah.
And I'm bad. I don't do the work on my own book. It's like being a great shrink, but you're
Tell me about your book.
Just, it's a bloody
Okay, I'll forget about it then.
well, it took a lot of work too.
So is it a technique book or is it something else?
It's a methodology that integrates theory, harmony, ear training, and improvisation using tetrachords. So there's only 6 tetrachords. So I start off with a simple template of the 6 tetrachords that we go up and down on and play around on for a minute and make sure we really integrate the 6 tetrachords. It's minor 1, minor 2, minor 1's Dorian, minor 2 is Phrygian, major. A tetrachord is a 4-note scalar fragment from a scale. So it's not a scale. It's a 4-note scalar fragment. It's usually the first 4 notes or some part of a scale. So it's Dorian 1, which is minor 1. Minor 2 is Phrygian, major. Whole tone, diminished, and harmonic tetrachords. So 6 tetrachords in all, and you can mix and match those, and by mixing and matching them, but we do this in an order of events, you can sing any scale on call. So it's a brilliant tool for a whole lot of have a look on my website. There's a whole bunch of stuff, and there's some videos and stuff. I should have put a flip book on there so people really knew what it was about. People buy it pretty regularly. And I certainly presented the workshops everywhere I could for a while. So that's me, kind of. If there's confidence, everything's about confidence to me, especially in jazz. the word is confidence, and in many ways, if you have that, you can just about do anything if you execute and do your homework and work at it. But you take one of those things out of the equation, out of the if you take one of those things out, it's kind of a much harder thing to pull off. So, you know, if somebody said, click of a finger, do it, present a workshop now, I'd have to say, oh, okay, well, let's just make it in 8 weeks' time so I can go back and over and be camera ready. So it's not, you know, it's just interesting that you have to keep working. Or I know I do. I have to work at things. So I've been worried I haven't been working on any music since I did this brilliant gig 2 weeks ago, and then I feel terrible because I haven't been doing any work.
Oh, God. That is how it goes. It's up and down, up and down. It's just really, yeah, I know. I do know the feeling. And I did a CD release party 2 weeks ago or something, and I really put a lot into preparing for it, you know, and boy, afterwards, I just absolutely passed out for 2 hours. Then I woke up. It was kind of the middle of the night a little bit, and I was wide awake. I went and had a drink, and I wrote in my journal, and I bawled my eyes out for I don't even know what reason. There was stuff coming up. I don't particularly think it was the stress of preparing. I think it was more the music represented the 70s, and the 70s were very passionate times for me, you know, and especially with what was happening in the world and now what's happening now in the world, and the people who were involved in the CD, the musicians were just so beautiful, you know, and beautiful quality, and you know, just I was so filled, I was so touched from everything, you know. It was a good experience, really good experience.
This is deep because yeah, I don't think I think for me it's just absolutely sheer relief. And then when I got together with my colleague, he was the one I was bringing to Melbourne International Jazz Festival for this big performance. It's, you know, down the drain. We were just both completely gobsmacked when we spoke. We just went, wow, how did that just go so brilliantly that everybody was off the ground? They were literally elevated for the whole place, and all they could do was come up and go, oh my God, that was just, you gave us all breath. We were just, and I'm like, you know, thank you, Jesus. Thank you. Because I thought, I can't even remember, like, we did this tune, All My Tomorrows. It was just flawless. And I said, hey, man, I don't even remember the lyric or how it goes. And he soloed at the beginning. And then I just said, I want to do that Charlie Hayden thing where just you play the whole tune and I'll just come in and sing one chorus and out, you know. And the whole place was going, and we were just like later going, how did we did the most stunning, beautiful, we did Star-Crossed Lovers, and we did all this shit, and we did all this other stuff, you know, really hardcore my stuff, original passion dance, and, you know, modal stuff where I'm wailing, soloing all over the place, and then we come and we do these incredible ballads, and the place, it was so eclectic, and what we put the program, so crazy wild, but it was just like, and so then 3 days later, I felt so depressed. I felt so far. I was like, "God, where's all the people? Another 2 months when you gig again, you know?" It's like,
I know, that is the bitch, man. You get depressed after that. I mean, it was a magnificent thing, and other people might think, oh, that'll carry her for like a year. No. It's like you have a loss afterwards because it's not continuing.
Well, there's nothing will happen unless I make it happen. It's like exhausting at this age. Okay, what do I do? Okay, try to find the next gig. Okay, so I'm thinking that was so sensational, and everybody there was so completely blown away. But I thought that'd be gives a rat's ass about anything. They just, it's gone. Like, sorry, crude, but it's like, okay, well, you know, do you often think about this? I do. And I've had this conversation with my colleague, Adrian Brown, beautiful, beautiful young clarinetist and piano player, just a great talent. We think about these things, like we do this thing, and then we think, oh, God, it wasn't recorded. Nobody ever knew that it happened. If a tree fell in the forest and you didn't hear it, did it really fall? It's like, did that really happen? Like, and I've said, you just have to let go of it and know that it went out in the universe and that's still ringing out there. And that's all. That's the only thing you can hold on to, which is why I know music has saved my life, because when I was 19, some really awful things happened to me, and the only safe place, the only place where I wasn't in any trouble was up on the stage when I was singing. So it's been the safest place, even though it's absolutely one of the getting up there can be absolutely nerve-wracking. I mean, I still go through a lot of, oh God, getting up, getting to that point. Once I'm up there and the musicians are playing, I'm in the seventh heavens. But the preparation and the work that nobody sees, the 99% of all the others, it's massive and it's exhausting, and I hate it a lot of the time. But I do know that place is so sacred. It's still the most sacred place. That could be the last gig I ever did in my life. That's how I feel. When I get up on stage, that's how sacred it is.
That's a perfect ending to this conversation. That was beautiful. And I've loved speaking with you.
I've loved this more than I imagined. I thought 2 hours, that's going to be, I'm going to be like,
I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I don't have questions and stuff, but it's just not, it's more like a nice conversation, and we go where we want to go. And and it's just been great. I really feel you. I've really made a new friend. Thank you.
Thank you. You have no idea what this has meant and what it will mean for me for a really long. I don't even know whether I'll ever forget it. There are things that I don't forget ever. I just think that as much as that beautiful thing happened where you've got massive people going crazy, and the beauty that Adrian, that the whole ensemble and Adrian and I were able to create the other night, we were so disappointed. We'd worked so hard and we're not going to be able to go to Melbourne. And yet I said, well, we've got Perth. We'll do it here. It'll be all right. We'll do it again. But it's just in between that, I live a very, very lonely life in a way, because I've ended up in a place that I don't have any history of any kind or anybody. So, and COVID hit. So anybody that did know me, as the artist, Chris McNulty, never thought to call or pick up the phone or check in. So I have two young male friends that are Adrian and Owen Meestay, who was in the video, who's a beautiful singer, and they're like my heart. They call me up and they ask me to go for a walk with them, and they love hanging out with me like I'm like their age buddy. That's all I have here. So of course I'm on my own a lot. I've chosen that. So, but it still doesn't mean it's not hard. It's a hard life to live day and night alone a lot. But this is like, I've forgotten. I don't know whether people have been watching. It feels like we've just had a hang at the cup of tea. I'll have to just call this person back, but we've got to go anyway. But a beautiful, beautiful meeting. We've only done email, mate.
Yeah. I know, it's crazy. And I'm your fan forever now and your friend.
and your friend, and I can't wait to get to LA.
Yeah.
Come up the West Coast. I don't know whether I've got the heart or the stomach to go to New York, although I've got really wonderful vocalist friends and musicians.
I'm sure.
I know, but I had to put the blinkers on to leave. I cannot imagine how I left. I don't really know. You know, I always
I
say
don't either.
it's a really hard place to leave, to find a time when you're either halfway up the mountain and it's not a good time to leave, or you're 10 feet down the well and it's really not a good time to leave, because you got to go back somewhere. And if you've gone back up, it's not good. So very hard, the hardest place to leave.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So I don't know how heartbroken. There's a life of raising Sam there. It's unprocessable, and there's X and there's Sam's biological father all there. So I can't ever possibly live there after this loss. So no, impossible. But the West Coast.
The West Coast. Here we go. Well, when you want to come here, please let me know, and I'll do whatever it takes to help. And you're welcome to stay at my house, and whatever you need.
That's a beautiful thing, and thank you so much for thinking about me and asking me on this show, because I just forget to even remind people, but I've been missing the United States and my American life and my American colleagues hugely. It's like an amputation of a limb that I can't see anymore, but I can feel sometimes, and so this is a beautiful thing to happen for me. It's just gorgeous. Such a blessing. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much. Wow. Well, everybody, I hope you're not crying out there, but this was really, really, really wonderful. And thanks. And I'll share it with you, and you can keep it and do whatever you want with it too.
I can't wait to come over there. I can't wait to sing over there. I'd love to bring my friend Adrian with me. I know the players are there are great. I just my friend he's just 24-year-old, brilliant, gifted young player who you'd think is 84 when you're with him. It's one of those, and he's going to have his life and career in the States, so there's no way we won't be there. But anyway, we'll talk about that another time. And
that's great.
Right there, and we'll play some. We'll maybe play some together.
Yeah, you'll like. LA has really an embarrassment of riches for great musicians. It's really filled with great players, and a lot of people are actually moving from New York here. Just easier living, I guess.
Is it affordable?
Well, certain things are expensive, but I mean, homes are expensive, right? It's stupid, crazy what's happened to the price of real estate. But I think, just regular life it's probably cheaper. Well, no, I won't say cheaper than New York, because you can get by in New York, but it's probably comparative. There's you can live cheaply, and then you can spend some money. Other than that, it's
are there rental properties?
There, yes. Right now, I think it's expensive. I don't know if it's going to go up or down as like next year comes around. It seems that there are a lot of people leaving LA because they're actually leaving California, because California, politics and such, the government and the money and all that stuff is very.
Well, I watch Bill Maher every.
Me too. I love Bill.
I can't watch till my Saturday night, because Friday night is my Friday night is your Thursday, whatever. So I hang. I didn't get it for about a year and a half, and now I have my sister's log. Oh, anyway. I get my Bill Maher fix, which is like one of the only things that keeps me going. And sometimes he can be a little annoying. But, yeah, and does he bitch about the politics of LA?
Oh God, he really tickles me, man. I love that he has on all these different people with different opinions I mean, he always is, a bit obnoxious, like he'll say what he thinks, and kind of muscle in there. But still, he has those people on, and there's lively conversation, and it's a great show. I love it.
Oh man, no, that I just live for it. It keeps me very connected, but yeah, I'll be over, and it'll be, well, this is my thing, and this is a thing that absolutely has to happen because I cannot live 24/7 in Australia. I can't, as a jazz musician that's spent 30 years in New York, I cannot.
Yeah.
I know what I can do and I know what I can't, so my thing is I'm going to be trying to do 3 months a year in the States. Just stopped with COVID, but if I could come over and do, something where I can hang and play and pay my way and just have that. It's about the best thing I can do split wise. If I could split 6 months to 6 months, great, but I'm just not quite sure. I'm going to try 3 to 4 and see whether that works. But I have to get things set up in a way here where I can leave things affordably and still, it's an expensive way to do it, isn't it? But
yes, it is. But it's well worth it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think there's only one way I can do it after I've chosen some complicated things in my life. It continues. Complications continue.
You should write a song called that.
Help me.
Oh, well, have a great day.
You too, darling.
Thank you.
Great
Everybody.
Great to meet you. And see you soon.
All right.
And I'll share it wherever I can.
Okay, I'll try and share it on your page. If I can't, I'll share it through message.
All right.
Okay.
Maybe we'll get rid of this part. We'll edit this last part and end it where we had that lovely ending. Okay.
Bye.
Yeah.